So I have set myself the goal of earning £50,000 in 1 year by self-publishing a book series. Can I do it? Can I make £50,000 in 1 year? Let's see. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about my book series, The Half Dead. It is the vibe. I've got to talk about the vibe. So the zombie apocalypse series that I've written has a vibe of R.R. Haywood's The Undead, which I discovered when I was writing The Half Dead, and it was kind of this series that it kind of inspired me a little bit. And funnily enough, my story has some similarities to his story. So his is about this normal bloke who teams up with an ex-military guy who gather an army together, and as a bunch kind of fight their way across country to try and rescue the main character's sister. Now my main character is called Harriet, who along with her daughter, they team up with a woman who is an ex-army veteran, and together they travel across the country to find this secure bunker and to find Harriet's sister. So it's kind of spooky considering that I'd never read his books until I was kind of writing my story, and then as I'd written stuff, and then I was reading his book, and it was quite similar in the little areas that was quite similar to mine. I was like, oh, it's a bit strange. So other influences that I had for this particular series were, of course, The Walking Dead TV series. Never read any of the comics, but like everybody else, I've watched the series. And I've watched this superb kind of zombie series, which is called Black Summer, which you can see on Netflix. It's only 2 series, and for some reason it got cancelled, but because it was outstanding. I don't know why, because it was outstanding. And then 28 days later, those particular films, still haven't seen the latest one. Never got to go to the cinema to watch it, so I'm going to buy that on DVD when it comes out, or Blu-ray when it comes out, which I'll have to check, see if it actually is out at the moment. I'm also a big fan of the filmmaker Tarantino, and all of his fractured narrative storylines, the way he does storytelling. So there's a bit of that going on in my book series, and when I say that, it's kind of there's often events in my series which are kind of out of sequence. And like Haywood's zombie series, my story kind of concentrates on all of the characters and their individual journeys, which just happened to be set against the backdrop of like this zombie apocalypse. In my book, for example, I've got robbers fleeing the police after having been set up during the zombie outbreak. I've got a wife fleeing her abusive husband along with her daughter. I've got an army vet who was court-martialed for making the wrong decision. I've got unrequited love. I've got strained relationships. So just because it's the zombie apocalypse doesn't mean that these people's kind of problems have changed. They've still got their own kind of personal problems going on. But unlike Haywood's books of The Undead, which is it's like a comedy horror, mine is more gritty. It's kind of hard hitting in some areas. I've got some gruesome deaths. I've got some scenes of a dubious nature. There's a scene of one of our very unlikable characters who does something with a dead zombie in a McDonald's. I'm laughing about it because it is a kind of a comedy moment in the book, but it is a bit odd, shall we say. So if you can stomach all that, then The Half Dead might be just right up your street.